What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some geopolitical updates that could be affecting the markets, what's happening so far with the key levels we're going to be testing, what you should be watching for as time goes on in SPY, the QQQ, and beyond. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or sign up with my QR code that's right over here. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of the stock. Deposit $10,000 to get $300 worth, and deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia stock. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. That includes a 4.1% APY base rate plus a 4% APY extra for 3 months. And the offer ends very soon, in just 2 weeks from now. So check out my links down below to get some free Nvidia shares. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So the market is very, very choppy. We got very, very low volume, some of the lowest volume we've seen in years on the S&P 500 actually. And then on top of that, not only is there low volume, but simultaneously the market's just completely choppy, very, very range bound. There's a very, very big data decay because of this, which is really hurting those premiums. So you want to be very, very careful of trading options like this. But overall, we're watching to see a big move develop and spark once we see the necessary catalysts, once we see a very, very big amount of volatility. But the question is, how do we know if the big move is about to start? I want to give you guys exactly what you need to know, as you have to watch for confirmation. So the chart is very, very simple. Now, I know many people noticed this possible head and shoulders like structure that's beginning to develop. We have a left shoulder, a head, and then possibly a right shoulder like right over here that could be developing, which could eventually lead to some downside. It is a possibility, but you can't just jump in and expect us to just crash like that. The market doesn't really work like that, right? We're very, very choppy right now. Look at what happened the last 2 trading days. Back and forth, and we just got really, really tight today. Typically, when the market gets very tight, there's going to be some kind of expansion volatility coming, and we're going to see if that ends up being the case or not. But basically, if SPY loses 642, there's going to be a risk of us dumping towards not only 640, but I would say all the way down towards like 638. I think we test 638 if we lose 642, and if we can't hold that for 4 hours. But if we start breaking above 645, and we hold above 645, I think we could be attempting to go for the all-time high all over again. So keep that in mind. We'll see which way this market ends up going. Now, some catalysts for the market. There's not really much coming out for today. We just have very, very minor earnings. But Tuesday through Thursday is going to be when we have the Home Depot announcing earnings on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have Target and TJ Maxx. And then on Thursday, we have Walmart, Zoom, and Ross all announcing earnings. That's going to be very important because retail earnings once again may cause volatility for some sectors, and we're going to see what happens with the risks to inflation and factors like that. For now, it's not that serious, but this could affect some sectors. Now, when it comes to our economic calendar, when it comes to news that's coming out, keep in mind we just have some building permits data in the morning tomorrow around 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then we have Bowman from the Fed giving a speech at 2:10 p.m., which is once again quite minor. Bowman doesn't usually say much, and that's pretty much it for now. And then on Wednesday, however, just keep in mind that there's not much data in the morning, but we do have the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Thursday, we have data from the Philly Fed, which could be significant, alongside the PMI reports for the S&P Global Composite Manufacturing and Services data. And finally, on Friday, we have the Jackson Hole Symposium and the big guy, Jerome Powell, giving a speech on Friday. So be ready for all of this. It's going to likely cause a lot of volatility. So we'll see how that ends up going. But for now, the market does remain more choppy, and there's not really a whole lot coming out for tomorrow. I think things get more serious starting on Wednesday. Now, when it comes to more news, keep in mind that we had Zelensky meet up with President Trump. They've been once again talking about the overall war between Russia and Ukraine, and they're trying to come up with some kind of like peace agreement. We saw President Trump also call Vladimir Putin today, and they're once again negotiating. So we're going to see how this goes. I just want peace, guys, and I will give credit where it's due if we finally get some kind of peace deal. Until then, we're just waiting to see what's going to happen. Besides that, President Trump said that his tariffs are going to be amazing. He claims they're going to be bringing in billions of dollars to pay off the national debt. And he's saying that he wants more tariffs to come because it's going to be very beneficial for Americans. President Trump did say that today. He did repeat the possibility of increasing tariffs on semiconductors. And that's pretty much it, at least when it comes to that. But then he did end up talking about how he wanted to add 407 derivative product codes to the list of goods subjected to the 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. So there is going to be more products added to the tariffs, and that's pretty much it for now. It's not really affecting the market much. The market just remains flat, at least for the time being. So for now, the market is flat like a pancake, and we're going to wait and see which way we end up breaking. So here's what you're essentially going to watch for. So honestly, guys, I am not a bull or a bear right now. I'm in the middle, and I want to wait and see which way we break for confirmation. Now, there's a couple of possibilities, okay? The first possibility is that this could be like a left shoulder on SPY. This could be like a head. And then we're going to see if this right shoulder forms as we start to dip. If we can't hold above like 645, we could consolidate and eventually start dipping. If we lose 642 anytime this week, there's going to be a risk of us once again dipping to at least 638 or below, in my opinion. And we could be looking for the head and shoulders to pan out. That's the more bearish case. A rejection and a fail below 642 is going to be more bearish. However, there is a bullish case, and that is if we could hold above 645. If we get back above 645 and reclaim this trend line, then yes, we could be looking for another leg higher. There were some instances where SPY was basically stagnating, like right here, for example. SPY was slowing down. It was kind of like in this consolidation. It dipped a bit, then just got a massive bounce off the 20 EMA. That's going to be around that 600. This was previously at 634 and we bounced. Now it's at 642. If we get a big bounce off that, we could be looking for another leg higher. That's going to be the more bullish case. But honestly, guys, I don't truly know which way we're going because it depends on so many factors. Are we going to see some big progress between Russia and Ukraine and the market starts to rocket again to break all-time highs? Or does the market get a big rug pull if President Trump announces high tariffs on semiconductors? It could go either way, so we'll just have to wait and see. When we zoom out and go to the daily time frame, we're still indecisive. One day was indecisive. The next day started off low and bounced. The next day went high, then we dumped. The next day was kind of flat. So it just goes to show the market's just indecisive. We're waiting for a direction. Until we get that, we're just kind of stuck right now. The weekly on SPY doesn't really tell us much unless we get a rejection. We're still just flat. So honestly, we have to wait and see what's going to happen. I'm in the middle until I see one of these big moves come. But we're going to see, can we see a big expansion in volatility? Right now, the Bollinger Bands are very tight. I think tomorrow we could try to push a bit, come back down to 642 and consolidate. But we're going to see if we break up or down. If we break 645, we're going to be more bullish. If we lose 642, be ready for a big dump to like 638. If we hold below 642 for 4 hours, expect a downside move. So we'll see which way we go, but I do anticipate some downside risk in case we do get some kind of like head and shoulders or rejection. I do see a possibility of this. So I want to just address this just so you guys are prepared, but keep in mind, I'm not saying the market will crash or anything like that. I'm simply saying that you have to watch your levels just to be safe. There is a risk of us turning here looking at the current setup, but until I get confirmation, I'm not going to be confident in that. I'm not confident we're going to dump or pump until we see one of these levels break, until we break 645 on SPY to be bullish or lose 642 to be bearish. We're just stuck until we break one of those directions. That's the thing about day trading. Day trading is not always as simple as 1, 2, 3. It's not always just black or white. Sometimes there's a gray area, which tells us that sometimes it forces you to be very patient. Sometimes you can't trade every single day because some days are just going to be useless for trading. And that's the honest, hard truth about trading. Sometimes you're going to experience losses, but you have to keep moving forward, keep your heads up, and just be very patient. Patience is key. Patience is a virtue, and that's going to be the lesson in this market right now. Now, the QQQ, on the other hand, is showing more resilience. We started off with this dip, but then we got bought back up above, or basically at the 20 EMA, which is a decent sign. If we're bearish, you want to see us fail at 575. If 575 fails us, be ready for a move right back down towards 572 or below. If we're bullish, you want to get back above 580. If that breaks, we're looking for attempts for all-time highs. Now, there is the possibility of a flag that's forming here. That is like the more bullish case. If we do have some kind of like bull flag like this, right? We could be forming a flag, break out like this, and eventually try to break out higher. This is a very, very possible setup on the QQQ, but it all depends on if we get some kind of bounce or not. The setup is favoring that we might go a little higher for like 578, maybe get close to the trend line, turn back down like this and just kind of consolidate. We favor consolidation between 575 and 578. Then we'll see if we break out of this flag or if we just continue to dump. So we'll see which way we end up going. But overall, we're just kind of like stuck in the middle. So give this the time it needs. And we're just trading sideways, at least for the time being. So let's see if we push a bit higher for essentially this 578 area. And then if we turn back down. But overall, we're just stuck in the middle. So give this the time it needs. I do think the QQQ tomorrow is going to go a little higher for like 578 or so, but then we might reject and turn back down to 575 and trade sideways. Unfortunately, the market's very sideways. We're not really moving much. And until we see one of these directions break either up or down, we're just stuck in the middle. So we have to play the chart in front of us. There is a bull flag setup, so this could turn bullish if we get some kind of breakout. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. But we need to get back above 580 for confirmation to really start breaking out. So we'll see. Be very, very patient and watch your levels. If we get above 580, we're bullish. But if we lose 575, we're more bearish. I think we could push for like 578 or so. Then we'll see if we reject. So give this the time it needs. With the IWM Russell 2000, we're also trying to hold our 20 EMA. If we lose 226.9, we're looking for a dump to 224. But if we hold this, we could be pushing to 230, and we're going to have to see how it goes. Looking at the fact that we're holding our 20 EMA, we favor some upside on the IWM, especially since the Russell's outperforming SPY and the QQQ. So this is doing better. This is an ETF that's doing well. We're favoring 230 going into tomorrow. 230 or so could be tested, and we'll see if we consolidate here. It is going to be a tough resistance, so we'll see if we reject or pump. But overall, we're still range bound, at least for the time being. ES is trading sideways. As you can tell, we're making like lower highs, but this is still indecisive. Now, is this going to be some kind of like double top rejection? Is this going to go higher? We'll see about that. Look at the last like 3-4 days. We went up to about 6,500, back down to 6,450, back up to 6,500, back down to 6,450. Right, we're just going back and forth like this. If you're a bull, you want to see us break past 6,500 to push higher. If you're a bear, you want to see us lose 6,450 to start dumping. I favor this is going to consolidate a little bit more. And I do see a risk of downside if we can't hold above 64.70. I think we revisit 64.50. And if that doesn't hold, then there is a downside risk. It looks a bit more probable on ES, but we'll see just to be safe. If we suddenly get back above 64.70, we could try to push a bit higher. I favor consolidation and maybe some downside if this is like a double top setup. We'll see, depending on what President Trump announces involving the Russia-Ukraine war or any news about semiconductor tariffs. President Trump did say he's going to be imposing 200 to 300% tariffs on semiconductors very soon. So if that ends up happening, that could be another catalyst. So we'll see. Be very, very patient, at least nonetheless. NQ is also just stuck right here. So notice that we're stuck between the green line and the yellow line. Those are going to be our key EMAs right now. If you're bullish, you want to get back above at least the green line around 23,850. If we break past that, we're looking for a big push for 23,900 plus. If you're a bear, you want to see us lose 23,739. If that fails us, we could be dipping to 23,650. So I think we could kind of test this, consolidate, and then we'll see if we turn back down to 23,650. So be careful, and we'll see if we turn back down. We're actually making lower highs on NQ, as you guys could tell. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and lower highs. So we're still favoring downside. We'll have to see how it goes after that, so be very mindful of that. As far as Bitcoin goes, we're going back and forth between supply and demand, but we do have some upside potential here. We could attempt to push back up to 117,185 to 117,800. We need to break 118,000 to push a lot higher for like 120,000. We might touch near 118,000, but I think we could kind of turn back down. Then we're going to see if we push up or down after that, but we're just kind of like consolidating right here. For Tesla, we're in the middle, okay? So I like the fact that Tesla has a similar setup as the QQQ, and we have a nice looking flag forming. If we break 340, we're looking for a breakout on Tesla. This could be starting to push a lot higher. We need to get back above 340 on Tesla to really break out. But if we don't, we're at resistance right here at 335. So it's going to be a big test tomorrow. Break 335, and I think we could get closer to 340 to break out higher. But if we can't break 335, there could be a rejection. We just could continue to like trade sideways in this channel. I do see a risk of us trading sideways before we eventually attempt to break out, unless this is just like a trap and we turn back down. So I anticipate a move like this. We just continue to trade sideways on Tesla unless we get back above 340 to break out. The flag setup is still present, but we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. As far as Nvidia goes, we're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between supply and demand. Now, if we lose 180, we're looking for a dump back down, and that could take us a lot lower. If we push to essentially 183, we could be rejecting, and I just anticipate some sideways price action like this. We're stuck between 180 and 183. If 180 fails us, we're looking for a bigger dump, but if we break 183, we're looking for a push. So we'll see what ends up happening here. I just anticipate sideways price action on Nvidia. I do want to mention that Nvidia is just very, very choppy right now, and this is what's leading the markets. But the thing about Nvidia is that President Trump could announce those semiconductor tariffs, so we'll see if that affects us. This could be making a big move soon, but for now, we're just range bound, so I just see some sideways price action until we finally break some kind of direction. Appl is going to be testing 230 again, and we're going to see if we bounce off this or not. If we get a nice bounce, we could be looking for an attempt for essentially 233, but if we lose this, I could see this dip back down to 226. Look for a small bounce attempt and some consolidation. We'll see if we turn or not on Appl, but I do think we could be pumping to the low 230s, and we'll see if we reject. Netflix, like I said yesterday, is looking more bullish inverse head and shoulders setup. I think we could be retesting 1250 if that breaks. We're looking for essentially 1268 as our resistance. If we lose 1228, we could turn back down, but this is still favoring upside. MSTR is on a bit of a downtrend. It might try to retest 370, then it could reject. Overall, it's very, very flat here. It's at support. Look for a test of the low 370s, and we'll see if we reject right here. Celsius looks more bullish so long as we don't end up losing essentially 58. I think we're favoring 62 plus for more upside. Supermicro has a nice looking accumulation. It could try to hold above 46 as long as that holds. We're looking for an attempt for 48. I favor 48, and we'll see if we reject or not. For Palantir making lower highs here, we're going to see if we end up retesting 175 or not. We could retest 175, and we'll see if we continue to turn back down towards 170. There is also a gap down here, so I do see some weakness on Palantir. It might retest 175, and we'll see if we reject or not. Rivian is looking more bullish for remaining accumulation. As long as we don't lose 12.3, we're actually favoring 12.65. For other tickers out there, we have SoFi. SoFi is looking a bit more bullish to me. Like we talked about yesterday, so long as we don't end up losing 23.5, we're favoring 24.5 as our next potential target. For AMD, we're range bound between 177 and 174. I think we might just trade sideways here. If we lose 174, we could be turning back down to like 171. For Coinbase, we're also in the middle. We have resistance around 328 and support down here around 310. We could be pushing to 328, and we'll have to see how it goes here. For Amazon, so long as we don't end up losing essentially 228, we're favoring 233 as our target. I favor upside on Amazon for now. However, Meta looks a little bit weak here. We tried to push here. We need to get back above 770. We might try to push a little higher, but if we do hit a key fib level like the 0.618, which is like right about here, we could be looking for a rejection as well. Google's favoring upside, looking for like 206. And then Microsoft is kind of flat here and might try to retest 520. We'll see if you reject. It is on a downtrend overall, but there could be a small bounce. The VIX is dipping for now. Is the VIX going to get back above 16 or does it continue to reject? This is favoring downside, which makes me think the market might try to bounce a little bit, but then we'll see if we get some kind of rejection. The 10-year is flat. So is the dollar. We're basically flat on all of these. Same thing with crude. So my honest assessment is that the market may attempt to push a little higher, but we're going to see if this is going to be forming a head and shoulders or not. If this is a head and shoulders, we could kind of push like this, then reject. If we lose 642, but if we're bullish, you want to see us retest 645. If that breaks, we're looking for new all-time highs. It could go either way, so make sure you're open to any possibility. For now, we're waiting to see what happens involving Russia and Ukraine or what happens involving President Trump's tariffs. We'll see if the market pushes just a little bit tomorrow morning. We might see a small push near 645. Then we may consolidate. Then we'll see, can we break 645 and pump higher, or do we get that rejection, lose 642 to dump? We'll see just to be safe as the market remains more indecisive. I am in the middle until I see one of these directions break. So we'll wait and see what the market ends up doing. So be very, very patient, and we'll see if we get a big bounce from here or not. We could go either way. So I'm being very unbiased because once again, there's a lot of unknowns in the market, and because it's so indecisive, I think that's the smartest thing to do. Sometimes we have to be indecisive. We have to just be unbiased and wait and see what's going to happen. And we'll see if the market breaks out a bit higher or not. We'll see what happens by tomorrow morning. But just keep those levels in mind. These levels are very important, right? If we lose 642 on SPY, if we lose 575 on the QQQ, it's bearish. If we break 645 on SPY or break past 580 on the QQQ, it's bullish. We'll see, okay? So with that being said, I thank you all for listening. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your guys' day, nights, or evenings, wherever you guys are around the world. And I'll be back very, very soon with another update. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.